My sophomore year in college was a seminal time for me. I learned some valuable lessons and my life changed forever. As important as it was, all tangible evidence of that time is gone, up in smoke. All I have to remember it by are the lessons burned into my memory and the love of my life. On September 29th, 1968, I had my first date with a girl named Charlotte. Although I had known her since the 9th grade and we graduated in the same high school class, I had never asked her out. We had some classes together our freshman year at SMU and got to know each other better. Our sophomore year, she was a freshman girls' dorm counselor and I was social chairman of my fraternity. She helped arrange dates between her girls and my fraternity brothers, and since I had no one special to date, I thought it would be nice to ask her to one of our parties as both a thank you for her dating service and so she could see that her girls were being treated well. I had no great expectations for that evening, but it was an enchanted night. I had known this girl for years, but I'd never spent much time with her. We talked for hours. I had never talked with a girl like that before, and to top it off, the physical attraction between us was immediate. Our relationship went from 0 to exclusive in a week. And before I knew it, I was up to my neck in new love. The chemistry between us was hard to figure. I was a 19-year-old male with all of the testosterone-fueled defects of that particular animal. She was more emotionally mature and seemed to get what was going on between us better than I did. As the fall passed, we spent time together almost every day. By January, the social pressures of college Greek life of that era had kicked in, and it was in the natural order of things that I formalized our relationship as a couple. This involved giving her a necklace with my fraternity letters in the form of a drop. The thing about it was, I was beginning to feel boxed in. On the one hand, I really cared for her, but on the other hand, I developed a sense of being trapped in the relationship. There were so many women out there. It was the start of the sexual revolution, and I was full of myself. As a rebellion against that claustrophobic feeling, I did something really stupid. The night after I gave her the drop, I had a date with another girl from off campus. On the way home from that total jerk action, through a ridiculous chain of events, although I was cold sober, I managed to get myself arrested and thrown in a drunk tank for the night. I learned 2 important lessons from that experience. One, if you're gonna get thrown in a drunk tank, be drunk. It's a lousy experience sober. And 2, never cheat on your girl just to prove you can get away with it, because I didn't. She found out, and her response to what I had done was a shock. Rather than anger, her reaction was more like that of a mother who had caught her son with his hand in the cookie jar. She wanted to know what I thought I was doing, and I, completely embarrassed, had no good answer. That was the first and last time I ever pulled a stunt like that. Having survived that idiocy, the relationship intensified, and in the spring she made a collage of the pictures of our more memorable times together. Along with that, I kept the typical souvenirs of romance. You know, party invitations, ticket stubs, menus, more pictures, love notes, and who knows what else. But by late spring, we had become so settled in our relationship that I started to take her for granted. I was still 19 and had not really planned to fall in love for life at that age. I was torn between her and You got it, all those other women out there. And she felt it. She had taken a job as a camp counselor in North Carolina for the summer. I had feelings of foreboding as she left and knew there was trouble in paradise. As the summer progressed, her letters became less frequent and more distant in feeling, and I knew for certain that the relationship was in crisis. I also came to the stark realization that those feelings about being trapped and missing out on all those other women were just the product of excess testosterone and commitment phobia in the post-adolescent male. What timing? Figuring out how important she was to me just as I was losing her. I felt helpless to do anything. She was in North Carolina, and I was stuck with a summer job in Dallas. Then the roof fell in on me. She had a roommate our sophomore year who was dating one of my best friends, and it was through them that I got the word. She was engaged to someone else. Not just someone else, but a Dutch guy. She had met 2 years before, a guy I didn't even know existed. He had come all the way from Holland, found out where she was for the summer, gone to North Carolina to woo her, and, as reported to me, had succeeded. The extent of my emotional devastation was overwhelming. I had never realized that a broken heart could make you physically ill. Once past the initial shock, the emotion turned to anger. Well, maybe more like rage. Of course, it never occurred to me that I just might have driven her away. All I knew was that this woman had brutally dumped me and had not even had the courtesy to call her right, and I was going to wipe the slate clean. I would leave nothing behind to remind me of her and what she had done to me. I gathered up everything that had anything to do with her, dumped it all into a metal trash can in the alley, and was looking for some fire starter. I couldn't find anything to use except the 3-gallon gasoline can we kept for the lawnmower and edger. I took it to the alley, poured a liberal amount of gasoline in the trash can on top of every tangible memento of my sophomore romance, lit a match, leaned over the can to be sure it caught fire, and dropped the match. My prior experience of gasoline was limited to filling the tank of a lawnmower, edger, or car. I was oblivious to how volatile gasoline is, and consequently didn't know to stand back a couple of feet and throw the match into the can. What followed next was not the expected fire, but an explosion. A loud whoop, and a ball of flame burst from the can as I leaned over it. Fortunately, at age 19, my reactions were quick, and I jumped back just before the full force of my pyrotechnics had a chance to send me to the hospital burn unit. As it was, I managed to burn off my eyebrows, the front edge of my scalp, and the top layer of skin on my forehead. All the souvenirs of my first great love were in the can and went up in smoke. All that was left was the smell of gasoline and singed hair and skin. When she came home in the fall, she called me and asked to meet. I fought for closure. I steeled myself to suppress all emotion for this meeting. I was going to give her nothing. I would be a block of ice. When she opened the door, the look in her eyes told me at once that this meeting wasn't going to be what I expected, and a certain block of ice melted. Instead, it was like our first date all over again. We walked and talked all night, and rather than the end of us, it was a new beginning. She sent the Dutchman home, and we never looked back. We were married when we graduated in 41 years, 3 grown married children, and 4 grandchildren later. We are more in love than ever. I still hate the smell of gasoline and have never tried to cook anything again with it. And I often wish I had more than just memories of the year when I grew from a teenager to an adult and learned that when love walks into your life, don't fight it.